What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, it seems like we may have hit a snag regarding the most highly anticipated, undisputed welterweight showdown, the biggest fight in the sport of boxing, between undefeated, unified three-belt WBC, WBA, IBF, Ring Magazine, welterweight world champion, superstar boxer, who is widely considered by many to be top two, if not number one, best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and Errol the True Spence Jr., who has 28 wins, no losses, no draw, 22 big wins by way of knockout. He is 32 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach, and his biggest rival, an undefeated three-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the reigning WBO, World Boxing Organization welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the number one best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford is 38 wins, no loss, no draw, 29 big wins by way of knockout. He is 34 years of age, 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach. With that said, they make for the biggest fight in the sport of boxing. That's the fight that the fans are clamoring for. Everybody wants to see, and they're eagerly waiting. But everybody's questioning what's the holdup, right? There's reports that it could be MTK Global and Terence Crawford's relationship with Daniel Kinahan. There's reports that Terence Crawford is asking for upwards of $25 million, $30 million. There's reports that they're just looking to secure a venue and a date. Some people said that they already signed the contracts. So there's a lot of speculation. And then the question is now being asked that if Errol Spence doesn't land the Terence Crawford fight, right? And yesteryear, Errol Spence would be considered the undisputed champion. But the WBO has become, as of the 2000s, early 2000s, the WBO has become a major sanction belt. And now you need all four belts, right? So today's time, you have a lot of fighters looking to create history. They understand how important it is to their legacy, and they want to create history, right? You just had recently undefeated, now undisputed lightweight world champion, superstar boxer Devin the Dream Haney, who is now 28 wins, no losses, no draws, 15 wins by way of knockout, 23 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach. He became the first four major sanctioned belt lightweight world champion in the history of the sport of boxing, undisputed. The last undisputed lightweight world champion was Sweet Pea Pernell Whitaker, the late great legendary iconic Sweet Pea Pernell Whitaker, back in 1991, and it was just a three-belt era. So we saw Canelo Alvarez. He became the first undisputed super middleweight in history of sport of boxing. He created history 2 times over, because there's never been an undisputed super middleweight, and he did it in the 4-belt era. So there's only 8 undisputed champions, 9 undisputed champions in the history of sport of boxing, and everybody's looking to create history. So Errol Spence, he wants to create history, and not only does he have the opportunity to create history, but he has the opportunity to do so in the biggest fight in the sport of boxing. It's the biggest fight in the welterweight division since we had 2 legendary, iconic Hall of Fame retired superstar boxers in Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas the Hitman Hearns back in September 16th of 1981. It's the biggest fight since then, right? Now, lucrative-wise, revenue-wise, and popularity-wise, the biggest fight was Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, okay? That broke all the records. That was the biggest fight. But the actual product in the ring didn't live up to the billing, because people were unrealistic with their expectations of what Manny Pacquiao was going to be able to do to Floyd Mayweather. If you understood the sport of boxing, you understood Floyd Mayweather's a masterclass boxer. He's a masterclass defensive boxer on top of that. And he has a masterclass ring IQ to go along with masterclass athletic ability. You knew he was going to nullify Manny Pacquiao, who is not the most versatile fighter. He's very athletic. He's very explosive. He has a lot of power in his left hand. He's a southpaw. But Floyd Mayweather's bigger. He's more rangier. Better ring IQ. A better pure boxer. Just as good. Just as their athletic ability is on the same equal playing field. So you knew that Floyd Mayweather was going to nullify Manny Pacquiao's left hand, but the detractors, the Floyd Mayweather detractors that wanted to see Floyd Mayweather lose, those guys are the ones that paid their beliefs that Floyd Mayweather would lose to Manny Pacquiao. So that's what made the fight so intriguing, is because people actually thought that Floyd Mayweather was going to lose to Manny Pacquiao, okay? And so you had people that bought into it because they thought Floyd Mayweather was going to lose to Manny Pacquiao. So that made that fight so intriguing. And because Floyd Mayweather is such a polarizing figure within the sport of boxing, he's garnered more revenue than anybody in the history of the sport of boxing, okay? He's broken every pay-per-view known to boxing, known to man, okay? And because he's such a, again, imposing figure in the sport of boxing, to see Floyd Mayweather lose, you know, people went out of their way. You know, there was people that was saving up for years to see Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather because they believed that Manny Pacquiao was deemed as the chosen one to beat Floyd Mayweather, right? And when it didn't happen, it was anticlimax, right? But if you understood the sport of boxing, you understood that the styles make fights, and Floyd Mayweather's style, you witnessed Manny Pacquiao get outboxed by Erik Morales in the first fight badly, losing all but 2 rounds maybe. You witnessed Manny Pacquiao be brutally knocked out by Juan Manuel Marquez, who's a counterpuncher, masterclass boxer himself. He's just not as athletic and explosive as Manny Pacquiao. You witnessed Manny Pacquiao be knocked out twice before the Marquez knockout. He struggled all 4 times with Marquez. So if you knew that Floyd Mayweather's a bigger, stronger, more athletic version of Juan Manuel Marquez, and if they fought 4 times and Marquez arguably won all of those fights, you can make a case, and he definitely won the 4th fight, then you should understand that Floyd Mayweather's style is going to give Manny Pacquiao all types of problems. Now, I understand the triangle theory don't work, but if you understand the sport of boxing, you understand that Floyd Mayweather is going to nullify Manny Pacquiao's left hand, and at best, you was hoping that Manny Pacquiao just got a left hand or so through, hurt Floyd Mayweather, and then, you know, capitalize on it. But that was it. A puncher's chance, right? Yeah, he's an all-time great, 8-division world champion. But you understood it if you knew the sport of boxing. And so with that said, this fight between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence is going to live up to the billing. I think it's can't miss, okay? So it makes it the same magnitude of Sugar Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns, because they were both Tommy Hearns, Sugar Ray Leonard wasn't undefeated because he already lost to Roberto Duran, but they were both at the apex of their career. They were both, their styles made fights. Sugar Ray Leonard is aggressive. He's big, he's strong. Tommy Hearns is aggressive, he's big, he's strong, but they both could box. So we know they can make the adjustments, but we also know that they're both explosive, and their mentality is to get you up out of there. So you knew it was going to be exciting. Well, that's the mentality of Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. So that's what makes this the biggest fight in the sport of boxing. But if it don't come to fruition, everybody's speculating, what about the Phenom? Undefeated, rising welterweight superstar, title contender in Jaron Boots Ennis. Okay, Jaron Boots Ennis is 29 wins, no loss, no draw, 27 big wins by way of knockout, 25 years of age, 5'10" with a 74-inch arm reach. Okay, he's ranked top 3 in every major sanction belt, right? He is the mandatory challenger for Errol Spence's IBF title, right? So, you know, Jaron Boots Ennis is a major player. He's seen as on the same level as Terence Crawford, Errol Spence. He have the ability to switch from southpaw to orthodox. He has, he's big, strong, and powerful like Errol Spence, and aggressive like Errol Spence. But he has the quote-unquote versatility and the ability to make adjustments like Terence Crawford, you know. So he has, every bit of all of their strengths and none of their glaring weaknesses, right? When you look at Errol Spence, you would say Errol Spence has slower feet. He's not as athletic, right? Terence Crawford, like Terence Crawford, right? That's the that's how it's being perceived. As Terence Crawford is more athletic, he's more fluid, he's more versatile, and Jaron Boots Ennis, he has all of those things, and you would say that's Errol Spence's weakness, right? And Terence Crawford's weakness is he's not as big and not as strong as everybody else. Just doesn't have the physicality like everybody else, although he stopped 10 of his last 11 opponents. Well, Jaron Ennis don't lack in that department. So many people saying, well, Errol Spence don't get the fight with Terence Crawford. The next best option is Jaron Boots Ennis. No, it's not going to happen. If Errol Spence doesn't land the Terence Crawford fight, Errol Spence is going to exit the division. He's exiting stage left. He's going to go to 154. Okay? He's already on record letting Jaron Ennis know, I'll see you down the line, and I'll see you at 154. Right? Errol Spence is already on the record letting you know. The only reason he's sticking around welterweight right now is for the Terence Crawford fight. Okay? So Errol Spence is letting you know, if it ain't Terence Crawford, it ain't happening. I'm out of the division. Now, obviously, Errol Spence, he has a plan. He wants to be undisputed. But again, you look at it from this standpoint. If Errol Spence was to fight Jaron Ennis, what does Errol Spence garner fighting Jaron Ennis? Jaron Ennis doesn't have a title. Now, obviously, it's a big fight. It's a popular fight. It would be, a legacy fight for Errol Spence, because Jaron Ennis is deemed the chosen one, the phenom. So him to beat Jaron Ennis would speak volumes, right? But outside of that, what does he garner? Nothing. Because Jaron Ennis doesn't have a belt. So if you're Errol Spence, then you say, well, I see him anyway at 154, right? The objective for Errol Spence is to be undisputed at welterweight. That's what he was setting out to do. So if you don't get the Terence Crawford fight, now let's say Terence Crawford vacates the WBO title. He don't get the fight. Terence Crawford can now take the WBO title. He didn't lose it in the ring. Let's say Terence Crawford say, I'm going to go up to 154 and I'm going to make myself the mandatory challenger for two-time junior middleweight world champion, who's currently the undisputed junior middleweight world champion, and superstar boxer Jamel Lyons Only Charlo, who Terence Crawford expressed interest in fighting, okay? And Jamel Charlo, 35 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, 19 wins by way of knockout, 32 years of age, 6 feet tall with a 73-inch arm reach. Terence Crawford already expressed that Errol Spence and Jaron Ennis are good friends. Errol Spence and Jamel Charlo are good friends. They share the same trainer and 2-time trainer of the year, well-renowned trainer, future Hall of Fame trainer in Derrick James. And Terence Crawford expressed that he wants to knock off his biggest cheerleader in Jamel Charlo. So let's say he can't come to an agreement with Errol Spence. Well, Terence Crawford still can make a path to Errol Spence. And how? He can make himself the WBO mandatory challenger. That's how the World Boxing Organization operates. He can move up, automatically make himself the mandatory for Jamel Charlo, who has a mandatory coming up in Tim Tszyu. Looks like he's going to be fighting Tim Tszyu in November. But Terence Crawford could get his feet wet at 154, fight somebody, and then make himself the mandatory for Jamel Charlo. And you look at it from this standpoint, he beats Jamel Charlo, Errol Spence moves up to 54. Well, guess what? He's still fighting Errol Spence at 154 for undisputed, right? So he wants to fight him and become a 3-division undisputed world champion. But if he don't get the opportunity to fight Errol Spence at 147, he can fight Errol Spence at 154 and it still be for undisputed if he gets past Jamel Charlo. And it's still a massive fight. But for Errol Spence, he could say, listen, I'll see Jaron Boots Ennis at 154 as well, right? So that would be the path. Is just now my point in saying this is that if Terence Crawford went that route of vacating the belt and make himself the mandatory for Jamel Charlo, now if Jaron Ennis, Errol Spence can be made for the vacant WBO title for undisputed, then Errol Spence will take the Jaron Boots Ennis fight. You understand? So because Terence Crawford will vacate the belt, Jaron Ennis is with Showtime president of sports, Stephen Espinosa, and they do business with the PBC Premier Boxing Champion. So that would be easy to make if Terence Crawford vacates the WBO title. Jaron Ennis is ranked high in the WBO rankings. That makes sense. Then now they're fighting for the vacant WBO title and Errol Spence's 3 belts. Now it's still for undisputed. Now it makes sense for Errol Spence to fight Jaron Ennis and Terence Crawford to just be fighting Jamel Charlo. That would be the only path for Errol Spence to accept the Jaron Ennis fight if he don't get the Terence Crawford fight at 147. So there you have it. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.